All right, everybody. Welcome again to another edition of The Break. I am your host, Shagsworth. Welcome to my new channel. We're not on my main channel. We're on my live channel, which is, I think, is slowly becoming the entertainment slash movies channel. I might have to like rebrand the name, but I wanted a separate place for this stuff where a lot of my cultural stuff and more pop culture stuff goes on the other channel. This one might be strictly movies, which I'm pretty excited about. And today I am talking about a movie that I think is one of the top movies of 2023. I think it's received some unwarranted negative feedback, and we'll get into it a little bit. And I wanted to talk with my good friend Lofty Pixels about this movie because I know you appreciate it as well.
Hi, I'm on. Okay.
You are here. Sorry.
Yeah. That was my
But
fault.
I mean, this.
I do
I
love
mean,
it.
if you don't know, the whole point of this show is to talk about things that we like. And I thought this was a great movie because we had talked about talking about it anyway. And I was looking for a subject, so I thought, let's just do it. Let's just talk about The Killer. I've watched it 2.5 times now, and I want to kind of get into it.
2.5.
So
Wow.
yeah. Well, I watched it twice, and then at the gym tonight, I was on the treadmill for a half hour, so I put
You
it
were
on.
doing it. You put The Killer on instead of like the Smiths playlist.
Dude,
Yeah.
I should have put on the Smiths.
It's a funny joke, guys. The movie soundtrack is all the Smiths. And half the soundtrack is played in his earbuds, which is fascinating.
Yes, I thought so. I don't know where to start with this, Lofty.
I know where to start.
Because
I start with a question because I'm
okay.
assuming, and would you agree that most people haven't seen it? So should we talk about it from that perspective?
Yeah, well, so just so people know, because this video will also go up on my main channel when we're done. There will be spoilers in here. We will try and preface before we get to those. So
Oh
if we
yeah,
need to pause,
for sure.
we will. And maybe we'll leave spoiler stuff more towards the end, the second half.
Yes.
So but
Definitely.
yeah, we're kind of coming at this because I'm sure a lot of people have either not seen this, avoided it, or
Didn't know
it was a straight to Netflix, right? So it's by David Fincher, and it did not have a theater run, though it would have been kind of cool to see this in the theater.
Yeah.
But go ahead. What?
Yeah, it's interesting that this movie is David Fincher returning to his what he's sort of known for, which is like crime thriller kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Seven, Zodiac. You could even throw in Fight Club with a lot of similarities in this movie. Narration. It's like this is just peak David Fincher, in my opinion, filmmaking. So you should watch it if you are a fan of those films. I just that's up front. What do you now? This
Well, even
movie,
more than that, before you ask your question,
Yep.
even more than that, if you're a fan or if you're someone who has been starved for like something good and original, you should be watching this anyway. People in our space complain a lot about the unoriginality of Hollywood. Everyone just like reusing things, destroying franchises we love. This doesn't fall into any of that.
No.
It's a beautiful artistic film, very well done, start to finish. There's a couple issues I have with it, but I think 90% of it is something that people can enjoy, especially those who have an artistic eye.
Yeah, and it's based on a comic book, which is interesting. It's not based on a comic book, a DC comic or whatever. It's like A History of Violence, if you've ever seen that movie with Viggo Mortensen. It's based on a comic book. It doesn't feel like it, but it is. It has this sort of pulpy, ironic, exaggerated kind of style to it, which I love. And there's a humor that's fantastic throughout the whole movie that's very subtle and sort of nihilistic humor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I would say this movie is definitely in my top 10 of the year. It might be like hovering around like 5 or 6 for me, and like might be, I don't know, this is a good year. It's a really good year. In my opinion, for movies. Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, John Wick, Boy and the Heron, Godzilla. I really like Across the Spider-Verse. The Killer is up there for me. But
man, I can't see. Across the Spider-Verse might make the top 20 only because of like visually I think it just
Stunning.
continues and does a little bit
Yeah.
better than the first one. Um Anyways, I don't want to get into that
Well,
one,
that's
but
fine.
yeah.
It's just yeah, but we both love the movie,
Yeah.
and I will say it's a very artistic, expressionistic film. It's not
Mhm.
like a John Wick. And a lot of people said this. They were like, I was expecting Taken. I did you
Right.
get that from people?
Yeah, it seemed like that's what people wanted
I
from this was
know.
Michael Fassbender, like John Wicking and Liam
Yeah.
Neeson, everybody, but yeah, it wasn't that.
No.
Which I was okay with. Like once I
Yeah.
I I think if you read that review and then didn't see the movie, you really messed up. If you
Yeah.
read that review that it wasn't enough action, I would have just like you need to like clean the whole
Yeah.
slate and go in this as something different and new.
Yes. And it's once again, it's a now the assassin part of this movie, the trailer spells it out. This guy's an assassin. This guy is Hitman, you could say. It's sort of like actually the movie reminds me a little bit of Hitman, the video games, because the movie does this. Almost the whole movie is like a Hitman montage, basically. But
Yeah.
it's a very subtle, tactical, clean Hitman montage movie. It's not a shoot 'em up action movie.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for his man. It's so complicated because the character. Tell me if you agree. There's this, or if you think this matters as much as I do, but like I think the movie is more interesting because of the character's lack of motivation than if he did have a motivation. Because
Yeah.
it does this whole thing with this killer lives by this code that he just made up himself, basically.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like I'll find the code. I'll read it quick, but after I just say this quick. But he lives by this code, and it's going, and his life is like he's just a hitman, and he doesn't care about anybody. He's nihilistic. He's a cog in the machine. There's a lot of product placement in the movie. There's a lot of like sort of machinery, capitalistic, sort of societal kind of everybody is just like a chicken with their heads cut off running around and nothing matters.
Yeah.
That's kind of his code.
Yeah.
And he kind of lives by that and it makes him do his job really, really well.
Yeah.
And it's not it's a very interesting if you look at it from that perspective, the movie and then as that whole code of his is sort of falling apart because of he can't quite escape his empathy as a
Yeah.
human. Now, you can compare this to something like American Psycho where Patrick Bateman is like not a human at all. He's just like an alien. And
Right.
he's trying to fit in with humans. He's trying to be a human. He's trying to be like this socialite leftist guy in society, but really he's just like he's like an alien. But this movie's sort of the opposite. It's like he's trying to not fit in because he thinks that's what everybody else does. And that's like the
Yeah.
worldview of the movie. But
Yep.
there's this empathy that like creeps up on him. And I don't want to spoil much, but that's what do you think about that analysis?
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
close. I think that I think it's a kind of how I thought of this movie was you're following uh, you're following this guy, and it's really important that people pay attention to the opening monologue because it tells you. I mean, it's a big exposition dump, but
Very.
there are points that kind of filter throughout the movie, and if you're paying attention at the beginning of to what he's saying,
Yeah.
it makes sense why things happen later on. And I even when it comes to like the ending of the movie, I started like paying attention to some of the things that he was saying in that opening monologue that make it all like kind of
Yeah.
like make sense and why it did end the way it did. Um, and that's one of the things I like about Fincher is like these like kind of subtle things that don't seem so important in the beginning, but end up being important towards the end. And
Yeah. Yeah. For
and
sure.
I can totally follow along with the fact that this draws some parallels to American Psycho. It's a
Mhm.
little bit different because I think there's a bit more of a like in some ways a bit more of a human element to Fassbender's character in that, I mean, he does have like a real
Yes.
relationship with somebody.
Yep.
And but you're watching a guy fumble with his like code of ethics as far
Yeah.
as being an assassin goes, but also finding out what it means to truly care for another. Because I don't think up until that point he thought that. Well, I think he thought that he would never mess up, but also I think he believed that nothing would ever happen to the people that were close to him. Um,
Yeah.
or even understand like what like his relationship with his employer. I don't think he understood that dynamic either. And while he was still trying to live up to this code of ethics throughout it, he kept deviating in ways and almost like testing what it meant to to improvise, even though that's against his code of ethics as far as an assassin goes. But there's
Yeah.
also times where he goes back to that and he doesn't mess around in it, and it saves his life. So it's a really, really cool,
And he repeats that code to himself in an internal monologue over and over and over again.
mhm.
And I think I you know, it's like, why is he saying this over and over and over again? It's because he doesn't actually believe what he's saying. I think. He has
Yeah,
this code, and
oh, go ahead.
I actually found it. It's oh shit, it's right here. It's only results matter. Wait, hold on a second. I can't remember. I'll find you talk. I'll find the quote. I'll find the quote. Sorry. I just wanted to
Um,
read the mantra because it's fascinating. But
yeah,
go
and
ahead.
that there was, oh man, I was as I was on the treadmill watching this opening sequence again, there's something he says right
Uh-huh.
in the beginning, and I can't even think of it now, of why, but there's a if there's one thing I can like the one thing the audience needs to do, pay attention to the opening monologue. It gives you so much juicy information
Yeah.
about this guy, and it's well. Let me deviate some while you're finding that.
I found it.
Something else. Okay, go
Oh.
ahead.
So here's the mantra, so you guys are aware. It's forbid empathy. Empathy is weakness. Weakness is vulnerability. And that he just repeat the whole movie. He's just like repeating this over and over, and there's more to it, but like that's kind of the gist of it. It's like don't have empathy, and then he also talks about how it, you kill somebody, it doesn't matter. There's 8 billion people on the planet, no one's gonna
Right.
know.
Yep.
It's this very cog in the machine kind of thing, and the movie also does, like I said, a lot of product placement, and it sort of pokes fun at that. Um, it's sort of like has this nihilistic kind of depressing take on what a lot of people probably think, which is like their lives don't matter, nothing matters. We're just, society's a machine, and we're just like a simulation, and it's like once his shit falls apart, he realizes that like he cares actually. And without spoiling it, but yeah. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry. I just wanted to
Well,
let
no, he one of the interesting parts of this movie, and and I don't know, you can have people have their ideas on what makes a movie good, and I think there's a lot of value in saying that on a second or third play of a movie, you really get into like the
yeah,
nitty-gritty of movies. And I do think that's a good
that's
quality. I think if
fair.
you can watch a movie 2 or 3 times and pick up more details of it, that's totally fine. I don't think that takes away from the quality. And this is a movie that definitely benefits from multiple viewings, and it's totally possible to like
Yeah.
because you're looking at different things. Like I said, looking at what he says, especially about empathy and how like unknowns that pop up, like innocent bystanders. Like when he's
Right.
in this opening monologue, when he's
Think on your
talking about
feet.
this, yeah,
Yeah.
he gets interrupted just as he's and this is an
As
interesting moment because you can take
Yeah.
it 2 ways. He's interrupted in his monologue and he's just about to say how,
Yeah,
like,
he's doing his mantra.
he's doing his mantra and he gets interrupted by someone opening the door behind him, like, just to toss mail in. Um,
Yeah.
but there's a moment here where you think that he's either, uh he calls it the army in veterans call it tunnel vision, where you're only fixated on a singular point,
Yeah.
and it can be distracting and it can cause issues. But he is about to say that it's like, forget the phrase, but he's about to say something like, "Oh, uh, like, like he's like happy to kill this person." So while
Yeah.
this moment is happening, this would be a great movie to EFAP, by the way. Um,
Oh yeah.
but while he's doing this, so he gets interrupted and he immediately stands up and gets like distracted and he's almost like panicking. And in this moment, you could either think that he didn't mean what he was saying in his monologue, or he was really disappointed he didn't get the chance to kill the guy coming into the room. It's really hard to tell, but again,
Yep.
it's one of those like really cool moments that the director never tells you if he's like upset he didn't get to, because you don't meet that moment again. It's just
No.
gone, and then he falls asleep or something like that.
There's this fascinating interview with Fassbender on I believe he's interviewed by another actress on Variety Actors on Actors.
Mhm.
Um, and he's talking about his performance, and like he almost does not have dialogue on screen at all. It's he has all internal monologue stuff mostly.
Mm. Yes.
So everything he does is with his eyes.
Right.
And he's
That is a good.
expressing, yeah.
Well, and this is the point too, that like this is why he's such a great actor, because much like what's his name, Hugo Weaving in V for Vendetta, that story is told through his voice and how good he is at like modulating his
Right.
voice. This movie is told in a beautiful way in his expression, his cold, like calculating, like the scene in the restaurant is so good. Like he says a
Yeah.
total of probably 12 words there, and you can just see you could see his every thought.
And there's a lot of movies like this, guys. If you like Drive with Ryan Gosling, it's another one. Um, and there's plenty of, like, The Conversation is a fantastic Gene Hackman movie, and this movie is inspired by silent protagonists, silent sort of noir protagonists. There's a movie called Les Samurai, which is an Italian movie by, I believe, Antonioni. He's an Italian director in the 60s, but he was doing this movie 50, 70 years ago or whatever. And it's like, it's it's this code. It's literally the same movie if you look it up. There's the opening is the same and everything. But it's this assassin that lives by a code. In that movie, it's Bushido, which is a Japanese samurai code, from like a very like self-reflecting kind of samurai code. There's
Mhm.
another movie called Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai. Have you ever seen that
Yeah.
one?
I haven't seen it. I've
Forrest
heard
Whitaker?
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. That movie is about another hitman who is obsessed with the Bushido code of the samurai. And
Mhm.
there's a hit goes wrong, and the mafia doesn't like what he did, and they're after him. Same thing happens in this movie. Same thing happens in Les Samurai. Um, I highly recommend, if you like The Killer, watch those two recommendations are fantastic. But like,
Okay.
though, like there's this like archetype of this sort of character that's been established, that's like this silent protagonist. And Drive is a very popular movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling. So yeah, it's all self. But the reason I brought that up is because the acting, Ryan Gosling, what he does in Drive is so fucking good with his face.
Yeah.
And Fassbender does the same thing here, and it's like very few actors can do this. I think another actor that's really good at this is Mads Mikkelsen. In
Oh,
anything
yeah.
he does, period, anything.
Yep.
But and he reminds me of Fassbender. They're very similar. But like, yeah, dude, it's just some of the best acting of the year, easily. The whole movie, and he's struggling with emotions too throughout. Like, you could tell a little bit.
Yeah. Like, yeah, and I think that just those like those tense moments, like so when he misses the shot in the beginning, like there's the escape scene is not chaotic. It's still
Oh,
calculated. It's still
yeah.
like, even though he's walking fast and like his breathing is elevated, and you get that sense of panic through the helmet and
Oh,
everything,
yeah, yeah.
um, it's still like he's in control. But you could tell at that moment, like, I mean, he even says like, "Well, this is new," like again, it's kind of opening up that humor, that like self-deprecating, like,
Yeah,
okay. But he still makes it away, but he's still super careful. And I just
yeah,
like too how the events following, like his like that fall from grace and then into like his motivation to kind of, oh, all right, who done it now, was totally because he was cautious at the airport. He's like, okay, I'm gonna stay the
Yeah.
night. So that sets into motion this whole chain of events, because the movie would have been totally different had he just gone right home.
Yeah, it would have been different. Well, that's where well, before we get into that, I lied. I failed. I made up. It's not Antonioni. It's Melville. The autist in me has to correct it. There's a bunch of Italian directors in the 70s that were. It's Melville. It's called Les Samurai. If you like this movie, go watch it.
Okay.
Number two, this is sort of getting into spoiler territory with the crux of why that what you just said, which is why he we won't spoil it. We won't even spoil it because I feel like I don't want people to tune out. But basically there's this twist in the story that like makes he fucks up a mission, which is like a thing that happens, and they even showed in the trailer. But it's like how he reacts to that is based on the reason he fucks up the mission, and then something happens, and then his life is sort of like in peril, and he needs to control. This is what I got out of it. He needs to control the situation. He lost control, and he just needs to like get rid of like the chaos. And the rest of the movie is a series of hits that like sort of one by one like mitigate that sort of problem.
Yep.
And it's like, and every hit has its own unique aesthetic, its own unique vibe. The characters are fascinating. The writing is fantastic. There's one scene with the best action scene of the year, in my opinion, period.
Yes. Can we talk about that?
Is that not the coolest fight scene ever? Like, I mean, I lied because John Wick 4 came out this year, but maybe besides that, it's like, it's amazing.
I want to hear why you think it's the best action scene, because I know why I think it's the best action scene. But tell me why you think it is.
Because number one, Fassbender is really, really cool when he does action. If you ever seen the movie Haywire, he gets the fuck beat out of him by Gina Carano.
Yeah.
And he's so good at like being his own stunt person. He sells it. I don't know. He's not a fighter. He's kind of a lanky guy, but he just sells it. So he sells every time.
This dude's a specimen, though. You see him with his shirt off, you're like, holy shit, dude, you chiseled from stone? Like,
he's great, man. And you believe it. He's not doing things that it's impossible for him to do. He's like a scrawny guy. Yeah. So he's struggling to fight this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why that scene is so good is because of the sound effects and the camera work it's wild. Like they'll do these like sharp like pans, and then they'll do like this explosion into like through a door, and like the sound effects are fucking amazing. I don't know. That's just why I liked it. And I don't know what you have to say about it. I just think it's flawlessly executed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the camera work was great, but I thought what made this scene so like visceral was the sound design, dude. Like, so what's great about this movie is that the Smiths seem to go like, the Smiths are this like quirky, if you don't know who the Smiths are, go look them up, or watch the movie and hear some songs. But all the songs fit perfectly with it. But Fassbender's character is just of course he listens to the Smiths. When you know who the Smiths are, you know that this is the guy who listens to them to chill out.
I didn't know who they were, and I knew who they were, but I didn't know anything about their music. And I'm listening to the lyrics. It takes me. I'm gonna have to watch it again. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. Kino Corner did a video about this, breaking it down. It's fantastic. He talks about the lyrics. If you know the playlist of the movie, you could predict the outcome of the movie. It's so specific to the Smiths.
Yep.
And yeah, go ahead, continue.
Well, so if you're listening to like what's happening in the scene, and I had to turn the volume up on my TV and like get a little bit closer to make sure I was hearing it right. But every time like he gets hit in a certain way, like the sound effects that are happening in it's all distorted, like it's going like almost like ringing from like getting hit in the side of the head, or like slamming into a wall, or it makes you feel like you're in the room or you're actually getting hit yourself. It's so incredible how well that fight scene is done. And it's just, but everything throughout Go ahead.
Yeah. It's not just that scene, it's the whole movie. I talked to Gary about this, and he was like, yeah, because he watched it on and this is on Netflix streaming, which
Yeah.
impresses sound of quality and all that. But even still, it had I couldn't that's like the first thing that pops into your head when the movie's over. You're just like, that had a really good sound editing and sound mixing. Like,
Yep.
it's really good. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
even where in the opening scene he's listening to I forget what Smith's song it is. It was probably one of their most popular ones.
yeah,
And like where like there's a point where the music kind of cuts out because of how he's like playing with
yeah,
the earbud, but it's like perfectly timed. So like he doesn't hear those lyrics, but like only hears a few of the lyrics leading up to it.
yeah,
I don't know, man.
yeah.
It's so bizarre how I've been like looking at this movie. And again, I think it's David Fincher, it's Trent Reznor, like it's all these.
Trent Reznor, yeah.
He's so good at like Trent Reznor's music is insane.
Well, the music thing, the soundtrack thing, is another motif in the movie Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai. That in that movie he listens to the RZA. I don't know if you're a hip hop guy.
Yeah. I know who the Riz is. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like that band, that sound, the RZA like makes that movie like tick the way it kind of vibes that movie. And same way with this movie. This movie is like, punk rock, punk. I would use that as a punk band, right? The Smiths, I guess I would say. But like, sort of, maybe. I don't even know what genre. I'm not a very good music genre person, but like, it's got this whole vibe to it. And it just complements the editing, the monologue, the character. It's just a perfect soundtrack. Now I like the movie Drive a lot because of the soundtrack. That's a totally different. That is a very sort of like EDM, sort of like slow electronica kind of. I don't even know. I'm terrible with music genres.
Well, another movie like that is Baby Driver.
Baby Driver, yep, that has a good soundtrack.
Yep.
That's a little bit more of a comedy, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It definitely has more humor in it, but it almost like, but also the silent protagonist type of thing, because he doesn't say a lot either. He's just like he just sits there and then drives like a maniac, and
for sure. And it's like, yeah, and but you're right, that scene had just like masterful. That's one of David Fincher's best scenes ever, in my opinion, ever. Like, I was so impressed by it. Now, that's just, it's not even like a main part of the movie, but like it stands out to me because like there's nothing else like it. I don't know.
right. Well, it's also
so clinical in the movie.
yeah. No, it's true, and I think that's one of those. When I was watching it, I thought
I didn't expect it.
Yeah, it wasn't. No, it would definitely. Well, I think as the scene dragged on, I was like, okay, this is. I think this is what's going to happen. But the it almost seemed like again, these are all. This scene, I think, was a direct consequence of him like rushing into things. Because he even like, I guess, yeah, I can say this. It's not really a spoiler. So he takes his watch off in the car, with his heart rate over. His heart rate was like 112 beats per minute, and he takes his watch off and hangs it from the rearview mirror, and goes into that compound. Had he waited to be calm, because part of the mantra is like to, well, in the opening scene he talks about like sub 60 beats per minute.
Yes.
In the his the trigger finger or whatever, like, but he totally ignores that in this scene, in order to get more information or to just do what he has to do. So I thought, wow, what a cool way. And it was just something, a part of the journey I think he needed to go on to realize, like, yeah, I can't really do that because I look like I just killed someone. um yeah, it was easily one of David Fincher's best scenes ever made.
My mic was muted. I'm sorry. I was trying to say something. I forget what I was trying to say. No, you're right. You're right. Some of the criticisms of this movie are interesting. Did you think he was sort of a bumbling idiot? I hear that from people.
Fassbender?
Yeah, his character, because he sort of like he fucks up a couple times, and he doesn't live. He's not like, I don't know, man. Like some people are like, "Oh, this guy's just like a bumbling idiot. He's like kind of like a not a very good at his job." And I'm just like, "Well, what's that about?" Because he messed up one hit, you know, like, and then he was improvising the whole movie. So it's not like, I don't know why that's a criticism. I don't know. I've seen that.
Okay, so for those who have been listening and those who are listening, we're going to start getting into spoiler territory because there's no real way to answer this question without starting to spoil stuff. So if you at this point, if you have, thank you for whatever you watched, but we're going to get into some spoiler stuff because I can answer your question, but I will have to spoil parts of the movie. I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead, finish.
No, yeah. Well, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I was gonna say, before people leave, go watch. Oh, I already fucking said this. Never mind. Go ahead. I was gonna recommend people to go watch a Ghost Dog, but go ahead. Go ahead. I already said that.
No, he's not a bumbling idiot. What you're watching is an assassin fuck up for the first time and understand the real consequences behind failing that job, and then having to and because he's affected, his relationship with his girlfriend is affected in such a way where she's almost killed. Now it's personal, and not only is it personal, but he realizes the guy that has been basically feeding him jobs, like basically gave him up to those people as a way to reconcile the debt with the person who ordered the original hit. So his whole thing of like not giving a fuck suddenly comes like just implodes on itself because he's realizing all this is like, he realized this guy does not give a shit about me. I'm just a number in a matrix. He wants money. I want money. And this is kind of where the whole movie like comes full circle, because he talks about like the few and the many. And I think right at the end, he talks about how like, well, maybe I'm just the many, like maybe I'm just the person who wants to live out a happy life. And again, like that's spoiler territory for sure. But like, you really need to pay attention to this movie and what's being said, because all of it matters. He's a cold, calculating individual who never experienced failure. And you're watching him deal with failure in real time.
And at the same time, he's an empathetic person at the core. Like, he didn't want to kill some of these people, I don't think. There's certain characters in this movie that he has to kill. I don't think he definitely does. You can tell. He'll look off to the side and he'll be like, and then he'll just, kill somebody. Actually, he gives the most empathy. It's so kind of fucked up, but like the most empathy he shows to somebody in this movie is promising them something and then killing them before they realize that they're dead, so they die with that promise like being fulfilled. Like that's you know what I mean? That's, who I'm talking about?
Are you talking about the stairs?
The lady? Yeah. So it's like that's the most empathetic he was to anybody in the movie.
So you need to watch this film again, because one of the things he says in his opening monologue, and I didn't catch this till the third time. So I've watched the opening sequence 3 times. On the third time, I realized there's a point in this right in the beginning where he says, because the opening assassination is from a distance, like he's shooting someone with a rifle, and he says in there, what happened to like I really like the creative ones where like accidental drowning or poisoning and blah blah blah. So that whole sequence was him being able to like he found a way to be empathetic but also like care for his own needs in that moment, which I thought was like chef's kiss. Like once you realize that happened, because he does like, and that's another thing is like that whole when he talks about unknown third parties, like he like went into that whole thing knowing there's a third party in there, and then but he didn't let his vision get tunneled by it. He almost did, but he was able to like kind of reassess how to do everything, and then in that
Yeah,
moment, I think he realized, oh, I can have empathy and give this woman what she wants, but then also get my rocks off at the same
right.
time, which I thought, again, just the chef's kiss from Fincher.
And there's this other element to the visual, like his his code of ethics and him repeating his monologue and getting interrupted all the time.
Mhm.
Um, like there's this it's the movie is not saying some people are like, how some people are like if a movie has like a bad guy or a genocidal maniac, they just go, they just assume that the director or the writer is like encouraging that or something. Like it's
Yeah.
not like a bad guy can't just be a bad guy
Yeah.
in a movie, or you can't have a rape scene in a movie just because that happens in real life sometimes,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if you have a rape scene in a movie, automatically the director is like is secretly getting off on the rape scene or something. Like that's such a stupid, reductive, like fucking stupid criticism. But the point I'm trying to make is like David Fincher is not saying that this movie is that he is a nihilist. David, he's not saying that he should be this way.
Yeah.
And part of that um every time like his worldview and reality are clashing with each other, and it's very shaky. Like sometimes he thinks he can get away with just doing exactly being efficient. What's the quote again? Being efficient, being not preparing and all this stuff, and something goes horribly wrong. It happens again with another guy where he accidentally kills somebody he didn't even get information out of before they die.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's like, and he's like, oh, they show him his response, and he's just like, oh fuck,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought I
he's
had
like,
more
"What?"
time.
Yeah, well, not only does he
And
say
that's
it, but
funny.
then his face told the whole story, like, "Ah, shit," like, "God
Yeah,
damn
but
it,"
that's
like
more humor. That's like morbid, like, oh
right.
yeah, you're taking this code way too seriously, dude. Like
Yeah.
you're living in this reality where it's not actually you can't will this code into existence and then like that's reality. Like it's more complicated than that. Like you're yeah. So like over the course of the movie, he like evolves. He goes through. He doesn't want to kill some people. He doesn't want to do some of these things, but it's very complicated. I don't know, man. You're right. It takes a couple viewings to kind of. It's not a typical. This is not Taken. This is not John Wick.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
um,
Um,
yeah, it's a philosophical movie, man.
yeah, and, like, even the Tilda Swinton stuff is, like I think it's some of the best scenes and best cinematography, but, like, even the
Amazing.
this is a precursor to the very end, which is like again, it's him coming full circle and realizing like he's human. And I
Yeah,
thought that scene, as much as I didn't like love the ending, and I thought it was the weakest part of the movie, there's a beauty in it in that he understands like he's starting to understand like what empathy really is in that scene, and why it might and while it might seem
yeah,
pointless to a lot of people as to, oh, why that, what like, oh, he didn't know, huh, like, well, there's a reason that it ended the way it did, because this is the point that that Fassbender's character needed to come to in order to realize the importance of maybe being a little bit more calculated, in like his code was almost too strict to live by, um, and maybe have been the reason he ended up in the place that he was in.
right.
Um,
It's
so it's yeah, man, it's this film has a lot of surprises that people don't
yeah,
quite realize. Ugh.
and I don't know. I don't want to get too stupid about it, but like there's this sort of mentality where the ending of the movie is like the ending to the movie is like a sort of it's not a happy ending, but it's kind of like a happy ending. But it's like um don't kid yourself. It's I don't it's also not preachy. I'm just reading into it a little bit. But like don't kid yourself and think that you can be sort of this stoic, you're not affected by anything, nothing matters. Don't kid yourself because you do actually, like, you're lying to yourself. You care about your family. You care about your girlfriend. You want these things. These are good things for you, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's sort of like if you wanna, like, boil it down to, like, dumb memes, like, it's sort of like an anti-incel movie in a way. It's like,
Yeah.
don't be the guy that is just like, oh, dude, he's literally me. I just want to be exactly like the killer and just like kill everybody and just not have a girlfriend, like treat everybody horribly and like just be base the whole like don't maybe like maybe like take things a little bit more seriously
Yeah.
and not try to like control your life in a specific way that you think is like the proper way to live or something. Like, it's okay to have vulnerabilities. It really is. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading way into it, but that's how I got the ending. To me is very. He's being vulnerable, is he not? Like with,
Yeah. Well,
he's
that's the thing. I see. I don't think reading into movies is good, and I think especially when you look into like a Fincher movie, because I think you're supposed to like that, and that's what makes him such a good filmmaker. Like it.
yeah.
It's multi-layered. It's not just like a, oh, here's the story we're telling you. There's ways to interpret it. Just like I said, like when you watch the movie next, like when he gets interrupted in the very opening scene, like listen to what he's saying, and then how like right as he's interrupted, like he says a line that I should almost find it and we should like watch it. Like I kind of want to.
It's
Can
an
I do that?
EPAP situation. I mean, you can look for it. I can just rattle off on something, but you can I don't know if you'll be able to find it because it's hard to find specific. I tried. It's hard. This movie has so much specific dialogue. Like, if you want to look for it, I'll talk about something interesting, I think. But
Yeah. See. Yeah. Talk about something real quick.
okay, so this movie has a lot of like product placement. I said this earlier, but I'm not even joking. Like, there's this whole sequence where he kills somebody using Amazon Prime delivery
Yeah.
and like Postmates and like Uber and shit, like random like apps on a phone. And they actually kind of spell out how easy it is to kill somebody and get away with it in the modern day culture that we have of instant delivery, you know. And there's also a reference to not a reference. He eats McDonald's in the movie.
Yep. Yep.
He's just like munching on McDonald's. And I think Kino pointed this out in his review, which I think is exactly what it is, which is I think it's his comfort food because McDonald's is everywhere in every country. No matter where you go, there's a McDonald's. It's reliable. It never changes. It's very consistent with his sort of mantra, and it makes complete sense to me why he would like be a fan of McDonald's, like eating McDonald's on a job, right? It's it's very reliable. And he literally had to like eat a hamburger on. Now he also mentioned this funny thing, which is like David Fincher is infamous for doing like 200 takes for one shot. So it's like, how many burgers did he have to eat for that one shot? But I think
I found the scene.
Yeah.
And well, I've never EFAP'd, so I do want to.
Dude, I want to EFAP so hard the Godzilla Monarch show. It's literally EFAPable to the extreme. It's so fucking bad. But anyway.
But I want to like I want people to hear this dialogue, or at least you to hear it. So well, I'm not even monetized on this channel right now, so it's fine.
Oh, you're fine.
So this is the very first time he's about to like he's been sitting here for like 5 days and they're waiting for this guy to show up at his like apartment in Paris. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is like the very final day that he's like waiting. He talked to his boss. He's like, I'm not gonna wait here forever. Like, what is this? They said, wait one more day and then we'll see what happens. So he's like getting ready because he thinks he's gonna show up.
When it comes to bystanders getting involved, everything becomes a blur. Combat veterans call this tunnel vision. I call it occupational good fortune.
So he's about to say, I call it occupational good fortune, which I thought was great because now he hears the beep go off and he's in panic mode.
Yeah, it becomes bad fortune.
Right.
Because he was talking about tunnel vision, which is like being focused for him is a great thing because that's how he is so efficient at his job.
Yep. So, but I just like how this. I don't want to go too far.
Yeah, I'll be careful because I don't want you to get. Because one time I was doing this and YouTube shut my stream off midway through my stream.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, you gotta be careful how much you play of something, but because it'll copyright it. But if you play too much of it, it'll just straight up delete your stream. It's weird, but whatever.
I'm not on my main channel, so it's not as bad. So he's basically just waiting for him to walk into the room. So again, that's why the last comment of being occupational good fortune is now kind of funny because you can't really tell, like, is he wanting him to come into the room so he can blow him away, or is he like, I don't know what to do. Should I, like it's a very tense moment.
Also, it's tense because he has a sniper rifle pointed at a guy 5 feet away.
Right.
And it's a David Fincher movie. So I unpredictable. I don't know what was going to happen. I thought this was going to be violence. I didn't know.
I think he says something. Hold on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he corrects himself or something. I forget.
Yeah. So right there. Is it so? And again, this moment is fleeting. It's gone now. They never come back to it. He never brings it up again.
No.
So the audience is left thinking, at least for me, when I watched it on my second time, is, wait, is he saying fuck because he couldn't kill that guy? Or is he saying fuck because, oh my God, I almost got caught? Because the very last line is like the occupational good fortune to me means that I'm an assassin. So if there's another person there and I get to kill, awesome. So what is this?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think it was intentional though, because he was describing this focus that he had, and then he called it tunnel vision. And he said, the military, or I guess was he comparing it to like PTSD? I can't remember, but he was saying, I call it an occupational fortune, which means to me, as if you're an assassin, having tunnel vision is not a flaw. It's a benefit.
Right.
Having extreme anxiety, focus, attention on one thing is what you should be doing. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he got interrupted by somebody, is sort of ironic. It's like he was talking about something that's a good thing, and then it immediately got fucked up. Like, I don't know. That's how I took from it. But like, you are right. There's a lot of sort of interpretive ways you can dude, I don't know, man. This movie is wild.
Yeah, it really is
highbrow. It's very highbrow. It makes you think. It's not a turn your brain off movie at all.
No,
I don't think.
No, and I feel like I've saw people like saying like, oh, if you want to turn your brain off and watch this, like,
no. Look,
not at all. Like, it's not what this movie is.
Look,
this is the look I want to show to people too.
There are people that just want. Yeah. Sorry,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, all power to them, but there are people out there that just want Taken 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are people that don't care about art films. There are people that don't care about films that deal with like sort of complex moralities in a way that's like artistic and like kind of, is the sort of the purpose of cinema as an art form, like kind of explores like what movies can do differently than other art forms. Like, and some people just don't care about that stuff. They just want entertainment. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't recommend this to somebody who is like that. That's all I'm saying. I just would not do that.
Yeah.
This is going to be boring. It's going to be very boring to them.
Not a film for action junkies at all. Not even close. It's a slow burn, but it's a a satisfying burn if you're paying attention to like story beats, if you're and this is how I watch movies. Like I'm always trying to listen to what people are saying because I know it might come up later on, especially in a movie like this. Usually the opening sequence has a lot of details that sort of
Yeah.
dictate how the story beats will kind of pan out later on. Um, and the other thing about this movie that they never bring in, like there's no sexuality in this movie. Like there's
No.
no like naked chick, there's no like gratuitous sex scene for no reason. It's all
Dude, there's
about
not
this
even
guy.
gratuitous violence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, not really. Like that the fight scene is about as brutal as it gets.
Yeah.
There, I mean, that was pretty brutal. There's a
Yeah.
couple moments where you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
But I'm also glad the dog didn't get killed.
Oh, I
That
know.
was a nice touch.
I know, man.
But also,
And then
like again,
yeah.
like can I just say that
Yeah.
scene too? Like we're still in spoiler territory, obviously. That scene too, he could have easily killed that dog to relieve any, especially at the end. But his
Yeah.
humanity dictates otherwise, and
Yeah.
that is just another nice little cherry on top. That this guy, like, that's what this story is about. It's about a guy coming to terms with his humanity and kind of leaving this other part behind him. Or can these two people exist simultaneously?
Right. Yeah. You know what though? Oh, that maybe this doesn't contradict what you said, but I just had a thought.
Mhm.
I kind of wish he didn't kill some of the people he did in this movie. I don't know if you felt that way. It's like, because I want to root for the guy. Like, hey, you know, you're an assassin, you're killing people. What? In a fantasy world, sure. You know, maybe it's necessary. You know, you're a bad person, but maybe the people you're killing are bad too. I don't know. But once, and especially as a revenge thing, everybody empathizes with revenge. Everybody is like, oh, you fucking fucked with somebody I love. You had this coming, you fucked around and found out, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
it's different though when you're a hitman and you have a code and you have to live by that code, and you have this, there's a balance between like, should you have empathy for this person or should you live by your code? Because, and then it becomes like, well, fuck, I wish he didn't kill that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
very complicated feelings towards the main character of the movie, but
Well,
but
and
to
here's
be
the thing.
fair, everybody he did kill was involved in some bad shit to an extent. I mean, they
Right.
didn't deserve to
And
die, but not all of them.
well, this is just it though, is like it that becomes a discussion, right?
Yeah.
Was everybody meant, should everybody have died that actually died? Because the body count in this movie is quite low.
Yeah. It's low.
I mean, but the people who died needed to die. And again, the very end of this movie, and why like a big reason he walks away, is because I think he finally comes to term with what empathy really is.
Yeah.
And like some people don't deserve to die. Even though his original code, the 15-20 minute monologue in the beginning would say otherwise. I just thought it was a very, very human moment that took him, like, you know, because if he had lived by his ethics, he should have walked in there, leveled the guy, and walked out. But he listened. He almost
Yeah.
he went against everything that he actually believed up until that moment.
Yeah.
But it saved someone's life because he realized this person really didn't have anything
Right.
to do with it.
Yeah. Spared somebody.
Yeah, which again I think is clever writing. I know it's not something that everybody wanted, but
Right. That's why the movie's good, is because it does what it does what it should do based on its own internal logic, and it doesn't just go, haha, we have to have an entertaining action scene at the end of the movie because audience has to clap at the screen. Like, that's stupid. That's if you're gonna do that, just do a martial arts movie or something. Do like an action movie, right? Don't make this is not, this guy wanted to, Fincher is making a movie about a hitman with a focus on morality. Like, that's a fascinating, not many people have made those kinds of movies.
well, I think
If
this
you're
is
doing-
also Go
Yeah,
ahead.
if you're doing a hitman movie, most likely you're doing a violent, entertaining kill count movie, right? This is
Right.
very, very rare for somebody to kind of approach this subject from this perspective. That's all I just wanted to say about it. But yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think, but I think this is a bit more of a grounded assassin movie. Like if you were to like document an assassin's life, this might be like more of what like actually happens. It wouldn't be like John Wick
True.
kicking in a door, killing 100 people with a pencil.
Yeah,
Which
true.
maybe there's someone that could do that, but you're probably looking at someone who like is, if he ran into the situation, like this is how you would go about it.
Right. Extreme
And
preparation,
right.
flawless execution to the point where it's muscle memory, it's easy, and there's not even any talent involved. I feel like a lot of these people, if they exist in real life, are probably not doing cool things that are flashy. They're probably executing a kill in a way that's very methodical, and it just takes practice, and it's like not even impressive. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's what this was.
Yeah, and I think Hollywood needed this movie. And I think Fincher is great for releasing it on Netflix. I think it was, I think he could have killed it in the theater, honestly. Like this would have done really well in the theater, probably.
Well,
maybe. I don't know.
The thing is, could he get the funding?
Right.
Because here's the thing about Netflix. They will fund anything, period. Anything. They'll fund a $200 million show like One Piece. And they'll fund a $5 million, whatever this is, indie kind of risky. They do a lot of risky stuff. Netflix. They'll fund anything. They throw darts at a wall.
Yeah, that's true.
Netflix is a bastion for. I will say this: Del Toro has said this. Other people, because Del Toro is working with Netflix with his Frankenstein movie, and he just did Pinocchio on Netflix. Like Netflix is like essentially sticking, middle finger up at the studios who are like, Pinocchio, what's the stop motion movie is sort of risky. I don't know if we're gonna make our money back. Like maybe we, Del Toro had to shop that movie around to 5 different studios, and he finally landed on Netflix. All I'm trying to say is some of these streaming services are taking risks, and it's actually a good thing that they exist, as opposed to there's pros and cons, but like, to be fair, this movie, I don't know if it would have been made in the theater at all or funded, period.
This is interesting. So I just a quick Google search says the killer is rumored to have a budget of 175 million, according to sources.
God.
Like, and I wonder where, serious question. I wonder where that budget went to. I mean, because it looks like it doesn't look like a $175 million movie. I would be really interested to see the breakdown on how.
You're right.
Like,
do you know about the visual effects in this movie?
Well, I mean, okay.
No. There's a thing. There's a thing. I asked if you know, because like
I don't. Please explain.
It went viral the other day. The whole chase scene was visual effects. It was not even real. Do you know this?
Which chase scene?
On his bike in the movie is not even real, dude. It's green screen, all of it.
What?
Almost all of it is green screen. Look it up. It should. There's cinephile circles on Twitter kind of shopping this around. They're like, The Killer should be nominated for Best Visual Effects of the Year because nobody knew that entire sequence was not even real.
Wow,
yes,
dude.
I'm telling you, go look it up. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And they show a shot of his eyes through the helmet. That's not even real, dude. It's insane. It's crazy. Maybe that's where some of the budget went. I don't know. The problem is David Fincher is so strict. He's a Nazi. And he's like, he filmed that sequence and he's like, nah, we didn't get it right. So we're just going to make it CGI. That's what he did, dude. It's crazy.
I mean, I know that visual effects are really expensive, and to make, that looked, that looked like it was shot on the street of Paris.
I know. I couldn't believe it. I already went through this like astonished moment. You'll have to check it out after the stream, but yeah,
dude, it's so sad to think that some people like Vex Electronic is here in chat. Good to see you, Vex.
Oh, hi.
She didn't like the movie, and I just like when I watch it, there's so many moments, like especially when he misses the shot in the beginning where he just kind of like peeks his head up, like what the fuck, like even he can't believe like what's going on.
Yeah.
Like it's just so good, man.
Here's the thing. It's you can't force somebody to like a movie they don't like. And you could say, oh, maybe you missed. Okay, what I'm trying to say is this movie is very introspective, and some people don't like movies that are introspective. That you have to kind of like. It's not. You have to like kind of think about what there's so many like layers to what's happening in terms of the morality and but if you pull back, if you pull all that away and like his moral code and his like his and the world itself and like all of the satire about like product placement and there's a million things in the movie, but the point I'm trying to make is if you pull all that away and if you look at it, it is a boring movie. It's not a very entertaining hitman movie. It's just not. So yeah. But the point is some people don't want to sit down and think deeply about something for now. Sometimes I'm this way. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for that. And I'm like, I just want to watch John Wick. I don't know. I can't, otherwise I can't explain why people don't like this movie because I think it's a masterpiece, but like, I don't know. I'm just trying to like give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think prefacing like people understanding that it's not an action flick, it's not a martial arts movie at all. It's a very, very different very, very different movie, but it's something new, it's something original, it's everything people ask for in the space, especially the commentary space, especially those covering movies on a regular basis.
Right.
This is what we want to see. You know, whether or not you think it's good or not, it's like we should be supporting films like any film that kind of comes out like this, you should go see whether it's streaming or in the theater, because I mean, even if it's bad, you're still contributing to the people who are doing work that's outside of remakes, reskins of all this, of all the old stuff. I think that's one of the biggest points I'm trying to make with it is you don't have to love this movie, but definitely appreciate what was trying to be told. But I think there's a depth here that some people just aren't seeing or ignoring. I don't know. But
there's I would recommend, honestly, I'd recommend watching the Kino Corners review, not just because I edited that review. Keep bringing it up. The only reason I bring it up is because I watched it also because I had to edit it. And it's his narration. I mean, his script is really good. He breaks down the movie in a way that explains why some people like the movie. And if you don't think there's anything there to grapple with in terms of like introspection, I would recommend watching the Kino Corners review of this movie. And it's also, like I said, there are references to Les Samurai and some other like, some other films that like kind of maybe having that experience makes you like this movie more. I don't know. I just I will say that Netflix is a powerhouse, dude. Like, isn't Rebel Moon dropping on Netflix? Am I wrong about that?
Yep. Thursday it comes out. Yep.
Yeah. So we have that. We have One Piece, which was crazy. We have The Killer this year. We have Yu Hakusho, which came out recently, which some people like, some people don't like. I don't know. And there's other stuff coming out too on Netflix. Like I'm blanking. Oh, Pluto is amazing if you like anime.
I heard the Blue Samurai. Is it the Blue Samurai?
Yeah,
is it Blue-Eyed Samurai? Yeah.
I'm just like, I just think we should reiterate that it's good that movies like this are being made and funded and supported by, if not the studios, then the streaming services.
Yeah.
Because the studios are like basically all about money now. It's like, if you can't turn a profit, fuck off.
That's probably a good mentality to have, honestly.
Well, it never used to be so hardcore like it is now. They used to fund crazy, weird movies all the time. Look at Reservoir Dogs. Look at Big Lebowski. Look at the 90s, dude. Big Lebowski. Look at Fincher. You know what I mean? Like weird stuff. The Coen Brothers. Like that's not. You don't see that anymore unless it's on streaming. You just don't see it.
What I would, what I've always wanted to figure out is, has the rate at which movies are made, has that increased in recent years? Because
Oh, I don't know.
I would say
Definitely
say
television.
yes.
Television.
I would say yes, that there's more movies being made each year now than there have in the past. And that's one of the reasons you're seeing them like tighten the purse strings more, is because they've put out a lot of garbage. And now they're like, well, you're gonna have your winners, you're gonna have your losers, but
Yeah.
it was almost like acceptable loss back then, where now it's like there's so many losers that they're like, okay, we need to put something out that's good. There's a little bit more thought in methodology to putting out movies that in the past. Not always. There's always been quirky, weird shit that comes out, low budget.
Yeah, but bro, they're not even. They don't even know what they're doing. Like, unironically, you could run DC. I'm sorry, you could run Disney better than they are right now. Like,
probably,
honestly, because they're putting almost $300 million into the Marvels. Like, what the fuck? And then they're not doing. And then they're doing like. They're banking on all this stuff that they think if they just do it like repeatedly over and over and over again, like eventually they'll make money. Like, it's actually causing them to lose money, because Bob Iger came out and was just like, well, we got to stop doing quantity over quality. Like, we got to do.
Yeah.
And James Gray is really good filmmaker, director, who's done fantastic movies. Ad Astra, that Charlie Hunnam movie about the Amazon rainforest or whatever. He came out and said that it would be better if they made fewer high blockbuster movies, but more high quality, and at the same time spend money, even if it's a loss profit overall, on really, really good art. Essentially exactly what A24 is doing, basically.
Yeah.
Even if you lose money, in the long run, you will build this community of people that will support you. Exactly what A24 did, basically.
Yeah.
And now A24 has got to the point where they put out so much like obscure but artistic, like eclectic movies that everybody just kind of gravitates to, whether you like, even if you just like two of their movies and not all of them, you still appreciate some of their content. And now they're putting $75 million into a Civil War movie, and it's like now they're able to, like, they're doing the opposite of what Disney's doing. A24 is moving up and up and up. Now they're putting, like, did you know about that? It's $75 million for Civil War.
That's the budget?
Yeah.
Really?
It's expensive, dude. And that's A24. Now they're doing this thing, and it seems to be successful for them. And Disney, meanwhile, is like having to shrink their budgets. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I don't know. I just rambled. I'm sorry.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. But dude, it's crazy, man.
It is, and I want to see. I don't know. Like, we only have a trailer for Civil War, but it seems like it's going to be a good movie. A good, like, something different, because I like most of the stuff that comes out of A24.
Yeah.
So the director himself, the writer director, what's his name?
Yeah. Alex Garland.
Like, he's made some good stuff that people really like.
Yeah.
So it stands to reason that this one will be good. And it seems like he's left his politics out of stuff. So that's always a good sign that he's just making movies and not commenting on everything that comes down the pipe. Which is what we've seen a lot of these other directors kind of fall victim to, or, people making movies, is they get so lost in the weeds with their politics that it kind of overshadows what they're doing. But this was one of those that I'm like, oh, like, if I look at it on surface level, it looks like a good movie. We talked about it last week on Wednesday.
We'll see. It could be bad, but I don't know. Yeah, we talked about it.
Right. And that's the thing, is like, trailers are meant to be somewhat misleading. They're supposed to grab your attention. They're supposed to hook you, put you in the seat in the theater. That's their job. Sometimes they're not as great as
Right.
they, portray. Sometimes they put all the funny jokes in the trailer. Uh, and that's because they want you to go to the theater. Based on what I saw, I would go to the theater to watch that movie. It looks good.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong, and I'm willing to take the L if it's bad. Because it very well could be.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's gonna make that much money. Now, here's the thing. Can you imagine
Probably
going to the theater? Can you imagine though going to the theater to watch that movie and then like cheering on like your side of like MAGA or like Prague, Sock Dem or whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. In the theater, like what if people die, dude?
Yeah, I think that's a bit much, but yeah, like I could definitely see the release of that movie being like, yeah, like people showing up in their
Yeah,
gear,
like
if you
show up
will.
with a MAGA hat or something. Like
Yeah.
and then there's like I don't want there to be violence, but like I don't know, somebody was like, I think it was Kino, he was like, they should hand out handguns to everybody, and then they should show everyone's voting records on the screen right before the movie starts.
Oh God. That would
Oh
probably be
god. It would be
that would
insane.
yeah.
But no, I think it's gonna be another Joker. I think it's gonna be like just
Yeah.
people are gonna freak out about it, and then it's gonna come out. It's gonna be. I hope it's a good movie, but I don't think it's gonna be nearly as like divisive as what people think it's gonna be like. But,
Well, the interesting thing is we've had these movies like
yeah,
Red Dawn. Like you had Red Dawn that do this very similar type of like, topical thing,
right.
and like if it's done in a similar fashion, I think people will be fine. Again, if they tell a good story, who cares? Um, it's but I think jumping to that conclusion, like right out of the gate after seeing a 2.5-minute trailer, I think is not good for your brain. First of all, um, I think you're looking at movies the wrong way. Like try and enjoy
For
something
sure.
first, and then react to it later. So, and I think if people approach it as just like, oh, this could be an interesting movie that may happen. I know we're trying to tell a topical, socio-political story here, and if and this is our version of it, and honestly, I don't, like I said in the last week, I don't find the California Texas joining forces things makes sense to me in the way that, like, I mean, if you really look at the demographics of those states, there
Yeah.
there are a lot of red in those states. It's just the cities that
Yeah,
are, might be different.
and people are I don't know, man. I think people are trying to judge the movie based on our like 2023 politics, and I don't. There's a chance that the movie is set in like 2043, or we don't even know, or
Right.
30, and maybe they explain that like Texas turned blue because of its California immigration, and
Mhm.
you know, I don't even want to speculate because I think it's dumb, but like people are like, this would never happen. I'm done with this movie. It's like, we don't
Yeah.
even, dude, you don't even know what it's about. Like,
Yeah.
calm down. I don't know.
Well, we should have a whole other show about Civil War.
Dude, I like
Uh,
Civil War Marvel movie is amazing. I'll talk about that one.
oh man, that was a good one. The comic
Fucking
was like
amazing.
all time.
Oh, the comic's better. That's how it is with anything though, right? Like even Infinity War is one of my favorite. It's my favorite Marvel movie ever. And the comic is just better.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
The
Um,
Infinity Gauntlet saga is not even, it's
not
incomparable.
even close. Not even close. Um,
Yeah.
no, man. I think we hit all the finer points on the killer though. Is there
Yeah,
anything you
there's
want to add? Final thoughts you want to add to our discussion?
yes.
Yeah.
There's that movie is definitely an introspective movie. It's you should keep it in you should not compare it to unfairly to movies that are doing its quote unquote genre like with more entertainment value. You should instead just kind of I just feel like that movie is something to say about um like all the things we talked about. It has like a lot to say. We actually talked about a lot. So
Yeah.
I think it has a value. I think it has a place in especially like modern day society, like I said, with all the product placement and with like everybody's concerned with like just being a cog in the machine. And like there's a lot of angst in that movie. And I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's the best movie of the year.
No.
It just doesn't hit me nearly as hard as Oppenheimer did. But
Yeah.
like that's not fair, you know. But whatever. um, but yeah, dude, I'm excited. I like talking about movies that I enjoy. So
Mhm.
thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. I mean, this is a good. I like this break like concept that you have going, and I saw your previous one, so I like that a lot.
Yeah. No, I just think it's a good. I mean, I definitely smile a lot in this because it's like I'm excited about the things
Dude,
that.
isn't it
Yeah.
more entertaining to geek out over something you mutually enjoy than it is to shit on something? Like, come on.
Oh yeah. No, and
Isn't it
I
more
hope
fun?
people see that. I think it's part of the exercise is that
Yeah.
seeing two people, three, four people enjoy like
Yeah.
something and not just hate all over it. It's a totally different energy. And while
Yeah.
again, I'll share your sentiment. It's not the best movie of the year,
Right.
but it certainly tries its hardest to be different, and while still giving you a good something good to digest. I think the pacing is a bit slow, but I think it serves the movie fairly well. But
Yeah.
there's definitely moments where I thought, we could go a little faster here. Especially the opening
Fair.
sequence. The opening sequence, there was a few dialogues that I thought, like he talks about like, oh, I used to stay at Airbnb, and I thought, well, this is kind of unnecessary. We don't like, we could still get the gravitas of this whole thing
Yeah,
without the.
but I connected with that because
Yeah.
I what he was saying was so true.
No, it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the ending, like I said, it was a bit weak. I understood why they did it the way they
Yes.
did.
Yes.
But it's easily the weakest part of the movie,
Yes.
which some people would say, well, that's the point. It needs to land hard, and it landed where it
Yeah.
needed to. Again, watch it. This movie benefits from multiple viewings. You'll definitely get into the nuance of it once you see it a second and third time if you really wanted. Uh, but it's really good. I'm glad that I saw it. And I'm glad that we finally got a chance to sit down and talk about it.
Yeah,
But-
and I think it was a great choice, man, because there's a clear parallel right now, in my opinion. Maybe you disagree, but something like this movie, which sparks conversation, and something like Reacher on Amazon, which
Mhm.
apparently a lot of people enjoy, but personally, that to me is like the epitome of normie safe action military television kind
Yeah.
of blah blah blah, like I've seen it a million times. Like to me Reacher is like I don't even want to watch it because like I watched season 1, I got so bored by the end of it. Like it's not doing anything interesting. It's just like it's just doing the thing that it does sort of kind of well.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of that stuff. I like movies like The Killer that are challenging. That's all.
Well,
That's
and to your point, Lofty, to your
yeah.
point, Reacher is a good palate cleanser for a movie like this. You watch a movie like The Killer,
Sure.
and you think, oh, like, okay, the next thing I'm going to watch is a couple episodes of Reacher because, like, it's it's just what you said. It doesn't
Right.
give you any more than what's being delivered on screen. The Jack Reacher novels are really good. If you haven't read them, I would suggest picking them up. And from what I've seen, the first season follows the first book, Killing Floor, pretty
Yeah.
closely. And the guy who plays him, but aside from not being bald, like is Jack Reacher.
Dude, that guy's the best part of the show.
Yeah.
My problem with that show is if that's what the novels are like, I'm just not interested.
It's
It's very, very, very kind of not very creative like
well,
storytelling.
yeah, so
I
it's
don't know. It's
because there
very
was like a
generic.
There was generic is, I guess you could call it that. It's
Yeah.
like rogue police procedural. Like he's not he's an ex-military police, but it's still like this procedural, like I gotta find this guy and I got this and I'm connecting that dot over there and that person, I'm gonna go beat him up. Like so, and
Yeah.
it's so there we had a big wave of stuff like this with the girl with the dragon tattoo. There's the
Sure, but
there's
that
the
has
Harry,
a gothic kind
but
of
it's
punk
still
element to it. That
it
that
does.
that Reacher is so sterile to me. It's just like every other like police procedural or like a thriller, military. Like Terminalist to me even had more personality than Reacher. Terminalist
Yeah.
had more heart to me than Reacher did. I don't understand the Reacher phenomenon. I never will. I don't like that show at all. I think it has very bad action choreography. Like the best part was the fight in the prison, but other than that, man, it has like they use fake fire CGI. It's embarrassing. But like,
That
I'll let people enjoy it if they like it, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Like when you see, and that's the thing is like when you see the production quality difference
Yeah,
in some of these shows, you wonder like why? Like why skimp on that? Because I mean,
right,
maybe
right.
lighting stuff on fire is really expensive. I don't know.
I mean, not in, I guess. I don't know.
But no, we got to do this again, man. I
Yep,
like
we do.
having different people on to talk about things that I know that they like, and you're big into movies and TV, and I'm sure we'll find something that we can also geek out on again in the coming weeks. Christmas is coming up, New Year's is coming up, busy time. But do you have anything that you have coming up that you want to tell people about?
Not really. I have Wednesday nights for 8 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. Streams every week. I just talk about whatever the topic of the week is. Other than that, look, I'm trying to watch this year as much as possible because it's already a good year. But there's a lot of under the radar stuff. Do you even know about Ferrari, Michael Mann?
Oh yeah, yep,
Dude, that's coming out. I
yeah.
want to watch that shit. Apparently the racing scenes are fucking awesome.
Mhm.
Del Toro is praising it. I need to watch Zone of Interest, which is about the Holocaust. Like there's Poor Things, which is like a Emma Stone Frankenstein crazy movie. Um,
The
yeah,
trailer I saw recently, I know people were crapping on it because they're like, "Oh, she's like a Frankenstein sex slave thing, and that's
yes,
degenerate
whatever.
culture shit." And I'm like, "But the movie looks interesting. Like, is the movie
Yeah,
good? Like, I don't know."
they're half of them are lying. They're like they put a baby brain inside of a girl. No, they didn't put a brain.
Right.
She was born without knowledge. That's the I don't know. People exaggerate shit, dude. You just like, ignore
No,
it.
it's true.
Like
No,
like
but
Robert
I'm
Downey
interested in seeing it.
Jr. is a wholesome person, and he has been praising this movie like left and right. So like I trust the movie's not like a fucked up. I've seen all his films. I already know what it's gonna be like. Like
Yeah.
but the point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of shit. Iron Claw, that wrestling movie is coming out
Yep.
soon.
Mhm.
We should do some of these like more indie movie stuff. That sounds fun. I don't know.
Oh, for sure, man. No, I'm all I'm 2024 is gonna be a big year for movies for me too. I'm planning on doing
Do
a
it.
lot of discussions like this surrounding movies, indie movies, the big mainstream movies coming out. And avoiding Marvel. I don't really care. I'm not going to
Yeah,
the theater to cover Marvel anymore. I keep
yeah,
seeing
yeah.
stuff about Jonathan
Although,
Majors, don't care,
oh, I don't care about that either. Dude, did you see the Echo trailer? Not
The Echo trailer looks based, man. I'm
dude,
sorry. It
it
looks
looks
good.
so fucking awesome. What the
Yeah.
hell? What's
Yeah.
that about?
Well, I don't know. The only thing I can say at this point, because it's only a teaser, is that maybe they're starting to understand what
I
Marvel
hope.
wants to see, and they're going to go back to the Netflix formula with,
I hope
I
so.
mean, that's all I can say. And
Well,
that's one I might cover. I'll watch the first couple episodes and see how I'm feeling,
yeah, we might have
and
to
then
cover that one.
yeah.
Because
So
look, and I don't know if you know this, but the guys who directed Loki season 2, they're good, but the script is terrible.
yeah,
They're
script's awful.
fantastic. The Benson and Moorhead brothers or whatever.
Mhm.
They're doing the Daredevil show for Marvel, and they told Feige that they are not going to do the show unless John Bernthal's Punisher is in it. So
Good.
Feige said yes. And to me, that's like, oh, showing initiative. That tells me that Disney is pulling back on like asserting dominance. I don't know, man. We could be seeing a couple good Disney shows coming out soon. I don't know. I'm not gonna say yes, but like I'm just, you know what I mean? I don't want to like say it's no, we're never gonna see anything ever good again from that company. And like, just like write it off. Like,
Well, I've always
if it
said,
was good, it's good.
yeah, I've always said that I want these shows to be good because I
I do too.
love a
I do
lot of
too.
these characters.
Yeah.
And I want to see him have some redemption. And like, I don't have problems with female characters. I have problem with very poorly written female characters
100%.
marketed as strong, great characters. That I
100%.
cannot stand.
100%.
And the same thing would go for male characters that are written in the same way. They're
Oh, yeah.
insufferable idiots. Like, I don't like them. Unless,
Dude.
of course, the point is to like be that and be satirical or whatever. That's totally different. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing real people trying to, or you're seeing writers, quote unquote, putting up characters that are they're just poorly written. They tell you everything, their every thought, and they're always good. And like it's too bad.
It's bad.
Yep. Anyways, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you guys for watching this episode, and whether you're watching it as a VOD or you watch it live, thank you. We really appreciate it. That's going to do it for us. See you guys next time. Bye now.